Okay, so today we're going to go over cellular organization and organelles.
All right, for our first slide, we have prokaryotic versus eukaryotic cells. So prokaryotics were the first form of life on Earth that we know of and are the ancestors of all living organisms. They've been around for billions of years. The most distinguishing factor of prokaryotic cells is that it lacks a nucleus. In fact, it lacks internal compartments, with its only organelles being ribosomes. Most prokaryotic cells are simple unicellular organisms and reproduce asexually through binary fission. Binary fission is the division of a single entity into two or more parts. An example of prokaryotic cells is bacteria. Now for eukaryotic cells, they are developed from prokaryotic cells because, as I've already said, prokaryotics are the ancestors of all living organisms. They have several internal structures, which are also known as organelles. Unlike prokaryotic cells, it has a true nucleus that contains chromosomes, which are strands of DNA, are stored. Most reproduce sexually, although few reproduce asexually through mitosis. They can also be either unicellular or multicultural, but either way, eukaryotic cells are much more complicated and complex than prokaryotic. Some examples are plants, animals, and fungi. Your very cells are eukaryotic. Next slide. And then here is just a simple chart just comparing the organelles of prokaryotic and eukaryotic. As you can see, the bacteria is prokaryotic cells, and then the animal and plant is eukaryotic.
So now the cytoskeleton. So it's located in the cytoplasm of eukaryotic cells, which are, as Maddie just went over, they're cells with a nucleus. And the cytoplasm is the kind of like liquid inside the cell. And it's a system of protein filaments and tubules. And its function is to help maintain shape and organization. And it's also there for mechanical support. And it can also track cells to move organelles and chromosomes and other things. And so an example of what they do is vesicle movement between organelles and cell movement in general.
Okay, so the first two organelles that we're going to talk about are the nucleus and ribosomes. So the ribosomes, you can see in the picture below where it's located, and the function of the nucleus is to store the genetic information or the DNA of the cell. And the DNA is stored in chromosomes, which are discrete organized units of chromatin, which is when the DNA is wrapped around and organized through proteins. And this allows for the DNA and genetic information to become more condensed and tighter so it can be easily stored in the nucleus. And the nucleus also is surrounded by the nuclear envelope, which has a double membrane and nuclear pores. And the function of this is to separate the inside of the nucleus from the rest of the cell and to control what goes in and out of the nucleus. And the nucleus also has the nuclear lamina, which are protein filaments that function to maintain the shape of the nucleus. And inside the nucleus, there's also the nucleolus, which makes the rRNA, which is what makes up ribosomes. And the second organelle are the ribosomes, which are responsible for making proteins. And there are two types of ribosomes, which are the free ribosomes, which are suspended in the cytosol or in the cytoplasm of the cells. And these function to make proteins that will function and do stuff inside the cell. And there's also the bound ribosomes, which are attached to the endoplasmic reticulum or the nuclear envelope. And these make proteins that are responsible or will go to the membrane or function for secretion, transport, and packaging. And you can see where the free ribosomes and bound ones are located in the picture below.
So now I'll be talking about the endomembrane system and the endoplasmic reticulum, or ER. So the endomembrane system is basically a transport system, and it consists of the nuclear envelope, the endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, vacuoles, and the plasma membrane. So these components are either continuous or connected via transfer by vesicles. So from this diagram, you can see that the nucleus is connected to the ER, and then the vesicles are used for transport, and these connect the ER and the Golgi apparatus. And then the Golgi apparatus is connected to the plasma membrane via vesicles.
Okay, so part of the endomembrane system is the endoplasmic reticulum. And so it accounts for more than half of the total membrane in many of the eukaryotic cells. And it's continuous with a nuclear envelope. And there's also two types of it. So there's smooth ER and rough ER. Smooth ER lacks ribosomes, while rough ER has ribosomes, which is why in the picture you can see on the left, it's rough ER and the little dots are the ribosomes, and that's what give it its texture. And on the right is smooth ER, and it's smooth because it lacks ribosomes. And then continuing from that, the function of the smooth ER is to synthesize lipids, metabolize carbohydrates, detoxify drugs and poisons, and store calcium ions, while the function of the rough ER is to secrete glycoproteins, distribute transport vesicles, and secretory proteins surrounded by membranes, and it's also a membrane factory for the cell. And we're gonna stop it there for today, and then we'll continue it next class. Okay. So would you like, for our activity, since you're the only one here, Pelin, is that how you're saying your name? Sorry if I'm pronouncing it wrong, but would you like to like label the parts of a cell, or would you like to draw one yourself? Or we can also make like edible cells if you brought anything. Do you have a preference? You can just type it in the chat. So, okay, label, draw, make an edible one. Okay. Okay, so we'll just do the labeling activity then. So I'll put in the chat a link to a picture, and then you can label it. Wait, that might be, hold on. Actually, it'll probably be better if you go to the second one. So you can label it, and when you're done, we can like check your answers or not. And if you need help, you can just let us know. And if you don't want to do that, that's all we have for today. So you can you can go if you don't want to do the activity. Okay. Yeah, so A, in the picture A, so the middle part, that's the nucleus, and then yeah, B is the cytoplasm. D, that's the cytoskeleton. E is the mitochondria, and then C are the vacuoles. So good job.